Hi there. If you're watching this, then it's the year 2026, and the school I run just won Best School of the Year award. I bet you're asking yourself, I wonder why that is. Well, sit back, relax, and let me show you why.
Hey, ding dong, a lang, a lang, a lang. Boom, ba-do, 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 ba-day. Oh, life could be a dream if I could take you up in paradise up above. If you would tell.
To begin our discussion of our school, we must first consider the vocabulary we use. We set our expectations high, and the language we use informs the way we think. Therefore, we don't merely call our children students, we call them scholars. And those scholars call our teachers professors, or refer to them as sir or madam. We do not merely go to school, we attend an academy, because this reflects the notion that our scholars are here to pursue studies that challenge both the body and the mind. Our approach to learning is simple, and it begins with human ecology. Human ecology is the study of the relationship between humans and their natural, social, and built environments. It is the understanding that all things in the universe are connected, and that the only way to really know one thing is to understand how it relates to everything else. In the words of Rich Borden, a faculty member at the College of the Atlantic in Bar Harbor, Maine, there is a tendency, especially in the academic world, to carve life into ever smaller pieces in order to make sense of it. All too often, the people who do this come to believe that is how the world really is. The aim of human ecology is to remind us that we are part of a complex and interactive living world. Its broad mandate calls us to cross the boundaries of traditional disciplines and seek fresh combination of ideas. This demands a different approach to education, one which invites imagination and caring for the future. In our academy, the student is the master of her own education. Besides for a small core of subjects that are required of all students, each scholar at our school is expected to choose the academic path that they wish to follow. The student chooses their own path of learning. For example, while English classes are mandatory, the student can choose from a series of English literature and writing classes that satisfy this requirement. So instead of basic American Lit or British Lit offerings, some examples include Gothic literature, 20th century sci-fi, journalism, and Oriental poetry. As they enter their junior and senior year, students can opt to hone their class choices based on a discipline of particular interest or aptitude. The scholar then declares a major similar to how one would choose a major in college. Now, whether the major is from the humanities, such as writing or religion, or the practical arts, such as woodworking or engineering, the concept is the same. It is grounded in human ecology, and therefore all aspects of the pursuit of knowledge is required. Engineering students are still required to write, investigate, research, critically think, no different from the math student, the biology student, or the English language student. At first glance, this schedule looks starkly different than a typical student schedule. Allow me to outline the various benefits of this schedule. To start, the school day begins at 8 a.m., a later start time which is more in sync with the adolescent body clock. We can avoid the sluggish start typically seen in students whose days begin at 7:15 or 7:30. After 4 academic periods in the morning, a long midday break from 11:40 to 1:10 is used for lunch and an extracurricular activity. This gives the mind and body time to focus on non-classroom activities. It also gives plenty of time to recharge during a meal, and gives the students time for non-academic, non-teacher-led disciplines. The extracurricular activities that can occur during this hour and a half are typically student-led endeavors. This compels the students to become the leaders, in charge of their own education, and allows for prep time and office hours for the teachers. Some example activities can be student council meetings, chamber ensemble rehearsals, intramural sports events, or group project work. The afternoon schedule is briefer than the morning schedule. There are just 2 classes, but are longer in duration, 65 minutes instead of 50. This allows for labs, outdoor learning opportunities, or other classrooms that require more time. The final period of the day is the most flexible, the second extracurricular period of the day. For athletes competing on sports teams, this may be a time for practice, a game, or time to travel to an away game. For the music students, this is used for teacher-led rehearsals. For independent study students, this is when they can work on research for their own projects. There should be something for everyone at this hour, whether it be chess club practice, yearbook, club meetings, teacher-led yoga studios, weightlifting, drama practice, band rehearsals. For the remedial students, this period allows for extra time to catch up on work. And even for some students, this may be a time to leave school if they have other approved obligations such as work, internships, or community service projects. Therefore, a typical day is about 7.5 to 8.5 hours long and breaks down as follows: 5.5 hours of classroom instructional time, 1 to 2 hours of extracurricular activities, a half hour for meal, and a half hour for transition time between periods. Another reason for the success of our school is due to the decrease in behavioral problems among our students. A person's inappropriate behaviors can be difficult to change because they are functional. That is, they serve a purpose for them. For example, some students may misbehave in order to get attention, regardless of whether that attention is positive or negative. Then these behaviors are supported by a reinforcement in the environment. The troublemaker will continue to misbehave because he can expect the same results over and over again. Our school initiated a program known as the Positive Behavioral Intervention and Support Program, or PBIS. Instead of combating behavioral problems through negative disciplinary action, PBIS is a positive, proactive approach to dealing with troublesome behavior. At the start of the year, students are given a clear set of expectations based upon behavioral goals chosen by the staff and administration. Similar to the Response to Intervention Framework, or RTI, PBIS focuses on responding to student misbehavior that is minor early on, in the hopes of diffusing the possibility of a major breakdown later on. PBIS is only possible with the collaborative efforts between faculty, support staff, and administration. Proper professional development must occur at the start of the school year and reinforced throughout the year so that teachers can feel confident in dealing with student misbehavior and have the confidence that they can rely on fellow teachers and administrators in appropriately diffusing troublesome behavior before it gets out of control. From the results that have been recorded in several school districts across the country, PBIS is able to significantly reduce the number of behavior-related incidents in the school, decreasing the amount of detentions and suspensions students receive. The artist Peter Wolf Toth was born in Hungary in 1947 and came to the United States when in the 1970s he created his Trail of Whispering Giants art sculpture installation project. His project was to sculpt an Indian head from a large log and install one in each of the 50 states to remind us of the Native Americans who tread on these lands before us. One example behind me is in O-Pee-Chee Park in Laconia, New Hampshire, which Peter Toth installed in 1984. This example is about 20 feet tall and is made of red oak. As you can see, the artist sculpted this entirely by hand with a chisel, but after 3 decades of sitting outside in the weather, there are some deficiencies. Rotting, lifting up at the base, fungus growing on the back, and tearing apart the bark. Not to mention the original insignia at the base of the sculpture is completely removed. No mention as to the artist or its significance is found anywhere near the sculpture. The Trail of Whispering Giant Sculpture Renovation Project is a perfect opportunity for many students across several disciplines to coalesce around a single project. It provides a perspective on Native American history through the use of art by a modern sculptor. Woodworking and engineering students may be required, including but not limited to answering such questions as how to protect the wood from weathering and deteriorating, and how to maneuver the sculpture and adjust its tilt so that it can be aligned vertically. Biology can be invoked to study how the fungus interacts with the wood fibers and to assess which preventative measures could be used for future protection of the sculpture. If removal and restoration of the sculpture is required, applying physics such as leverage, determining its mass, and finding the center of gravity all play important roles in removing the piece of art. And since this is a community project, appeals may be needed to be made to various governing agencies, such as the City Council or Heritage Commission, and it may be necessary to secure approval and possibly funding. Public speaking, writing of grants, and the art of persuasion and rhetoric are all important life values that can be learned here. Ultimately, the students will collaborate amongst themselves and with several teachers to figure out the best method to restore and preserve the sculpture for future generations. The success of a project of this magnitude depends on the preparation by the teachers, the organization of the students, and the synthesis of the two parties together. Choice requires decision-making and critical thinking. When we choose the events that make up our life, instead of being told what is obligatory, we become more inclined to have a vested interest in working hard. School is mandatory for all children, and as such, motivation is always a challenge. But when given the choice to succeed in the path of their choosing, motivation comes from within. Human ecology is the acknowledgement that all disciplines in life are connected, and that the goal of the scholar is to make a broader understanding of the world around him, while developing a keen awareness of the minute details. Human ecology is the balance of the large and the small. Presentation is the third and final leg of our school, and is the final realization and assessment of the scholar's work. This becomes easier when the student is the leader of his own educational system. Whether he is introverted or extroverted, all of us can show greatness when given the proper stage. For some of us, this stage may be a great drama stage, or for others it could be a chessboard or a math bowl, and for others still it could still be a soccer pitch. But regardless of our arena, we are all capable of performing greatness. The student makes the choice for his own education. Then he develops an understanding of a specific discipline within the larger framework of other disciplines, known as human ecology. Ultimately, he presents the final product that can be assessed by both the teacher and himself. Therefore, assessment is a two-way street, one where the teacher reflects on the progress that the student has made, and also where the student gives an honest self-reflection of his own work. A final grade utilizes a combination of both assessments. The school begins with a vision. It promises the choice of education with an academically rigorous mentality. It promises to develop the understanding within each scholar that the world, visible and invisible, is all one interconnected thing, one living entity. It advocates students to take charge of their learning and put them on stage with all the tools and support available to ensure success. And that is how you make an award-winning school. I appreciate your time watching this video, and may you go forth with a renewed energy to create learning environments in the 21st century.
Hey, ding dong, a lang, a lang, a lang. Boom, ba ba ba. Oh, life could be a dream if I could take you up in paradise up above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello.